Hey guys, this is Sal Mora, the Fight Shop, New Mexico. Come check us out, 6200 Coors Boulevard Northwest on Coors and Montano in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Welcome to the DC Life. Michael Frankel right now, taking over as host of the show. Sal Mora will join me in our next segment, but we're starting off with the Means family here. Tim and Brenda, thank you for the time, guys. Great having you join me after your strength and conditioning. And Brenda, congratulations. New hardware you're bringing over to show off. CSC Bantamweight Championship. Tell us how the fight went.
It was good. It was, we went 25 minutes. We threw down. It was a good one.
Second title, what does it mean?
It's pretty cool to bring a belt home, you know. Hopefully open some more eyes, you know, and get to that next level.
So what are the plans moving forward? What's the next goal, the next step?
That's all in Tom Vaughn's hands, you know. I think it's everybody's dream to get into the UFC, so that's what we're shooting for at the moment.
Coming off of a win with a title fight like this, you feel you're getting closer. It's going back against like an RFA, an Invicta, getting right to the UFC, one of those feeder promotions, the top ones, or that big show?
I think UFC is pretty close, so you know, just trying to heal up and get back into practice and keep learning and growing and go from there.
So for you, we've seen you bounce from 25-35. That would mean staying at 35, right?
Yes.
So what did you think of the recent title fight in Holly, also same weekend as you, bringing a title back to New Mexico?
I thought it was pretty cool for New Mexico, you know, a couple belts coming back to New Mexico. That was an awesome fight for Holly and just awesome for New Mexico.
So did you have a chance to watch that fight? Because you guys were fighting roughly around the same time.
Yeah, we saw the news, you know, after the show was over. Of course, it was on Facebook not too long after, so we got to watch it.
And then recently married. Congratulations, guys, again. Yeah. So is there any difference now, Tim, when you were the boyfriend to the husband watching Brenda fight this past weekend?
No. All the emotions and nervousness is still there, you know. But things have definitely changed at home. I've stepped it up just a little bit with the clothes and doing some dishes and stuff. So gave just enough as the boyfriend, and I've stepped it up a little bit as the husband. So she might not be agreeing with me now, but she's definitely on my team whenever I'm doing the dishes and folding clothes.
And now, what is it, the holidays? Do you even guys get to enjoy the Thanksgiving that's right around the corner? Because we know 15 days afterwards you're in the ring.
Oh yeah, I'm not cutting 55 no more, so I'm going to be throwing down on Thanksgiving. I will be eating pie and I will be eating turkey, so I'll run that morning and have to run that night, but I'll enjoy my Thanksgiving.
So we saw you getting bigger and bigger for a while, make welterweight. So what are you walking around at now these days?
195 right now. You know, maybe a little less since I'm right out of strength conditioning, but I saw 207 for this camp, so that's pretty big for me.
That's huge for you. It used to be 55.
Yeah, so you know, I'm not walking around at 180 no more. I definitely moved up, and strength has gotten better. I'm not seeing no muscles just yet, but I'm definitely seeing strength gains and recovery, and just feeling a lot better there. So I'm really happy with Dwayne Davis and Functional Fury.
We got to bring it up. Coming off the loss, Matt Brown. Thank you for that fight. For everyone that hasn't told you, that was a lot of fun to watch. We know you got caught with a hard elbow. What did you learn from that fight?
You got to be technically sound. I just hit Brown with the big elbow. I was going to take my time, try to get some of my vision back. You know, I took an eye poke and some good shots from him, so I needed to get my own vision. And I caught him with a big shot, rolled his eyes up into his head, and I thought I was going to have some time to get my vision back. I stood there, and he blitzed me with an elbow. I saw it coming last second, tried to turn to get away, and it caught me behind my ear. I don't remember shooting the takedown. All I remember is I was getting the life choked out of me. But a lot of good things came from that fight. I got a whole bunch of fan support. Got a new contract. Got an awesome bonus from Dana White. So with all that going on, if you got to lose, I guess lose that way. But you know, I'm still here, still making weight, liking my job. So I'm looking forward to getting in front of Howard and just fighting.
And then Doomsday, John Howard, two strikers facing off. What are your expectations of this one?
I think Howard has underrated wrestling, and his grappling's good. We've been wrestling 6 days a week now, all the time. I think every time you come in the gym, we're wrestling. So you know, just using it a lot more. I'm finding myself shooting takedowns in practice when I never shot takedowns at all. I have a team that pushes me, and I have coaches that have been putting the tools in my head, and I just need to start using it. It wasn't from my coach is not telling me what I need to do. They've been putting the right information in my head. Just I'm stubborn, and you know, I got to push that out the window and be a martial artist. Brenda's last fight, she used a whole lot of tools, a whole lot of takedowns, and used her wrestling really well. And now I got to go in and beat her in the takedown area. So have bragging rights at home for having more takedowns than her. But I think Howard is a tough guy. Just I got a lot riding on my shoulders. I got a big chip on my shoulders, and he's gonna be the example.
Watching the two of you guys fight, you and John Howard, I got the feeling that 70–80% of this fight's gonna take place in the clinch or up against the fence. Would that be a good assessment?
Yeah, he clinches with me. I'm going to put Howard out. I think he's going to get inside and try to change levels for takedowns. He won't stand with me very long.
Heading into a big weekend like that, you're fighting on Fight Pass, you're fighting on a Thursday. How different is that for you? When was the last time you fought on a Thursday?
I think my first fight in the UFC was on a Wednesday, so I don't remember the last time I fought that early in the week. I'm super happy to get to fight, to start the shows off and get out of Vegas before it gets too crazy. Back in July, it was nuts in Vegas, but you know, a stacked Fight Pass card. You know, this is a cool card on Fight Pass. You know, so and for $10, I have family that can afford that, and I have to go to Vegas to buy a bunch of tickets so they can just stay at home and buy Fight Pass.
Then I got to ask Tim about it. Brenda, what's it like for you watching him in the cage? What are your thoughts?
Same as him, your emotions, nerves, they get a little out of control, you know.
So it almost feel like you're in the fight too yourself?
You know, like
Yeah.
we say, I think we get more nervous for each other's fights because we're not in control. But like Timmy's told me before, be confident, you know, don't be nervous, be confident.
So is it better for you guys to have fights like a month apart, or would you guys like to have more time, you know, with your fight schedule apart if you could manage your schedules like that?
I'd rather Brenda fight first. Her go first, and then we're good. You know, we fought on the same card one day, and she fought earlier than I did on the show, and she stuck herself in every position possible, submission-wise, to fight out of it. And that was definitely taxing going into my fight, but it motivated me at the same time. She never gave up with some deep stuff, so you know, she has all the heart, and yeah, so that was a stressful fight. I remember that one against that what's her name, Cayenne Pepper. Pepper the Cayenne or something, but that girl was feisty, and it was just a fun fight.
So for you guys, this past weekend it was King of the Cage. What's it like for you guys watching your teammates, and what do you think of the jobs that they all did?
I think we have a good group of people. We have a good foundation that you know, Tom Vaughn, Arlene, and John Judy have put together. Nico looked outstanding in her fight. She hit the mat. She was just all over the girl. You know, transitioning nice, good control. Rather see Berto get a win. You know, he got arm barred, but you know, that was a really fun fight. Other guys we've been working with, or Sherwin looked really good in his fight. You know, hit a choke with one arm, which was due to tapping to a one-arm guillotine. That was pretty cool. You know, but everyone looked good. I thought Sean got robbed. I didn't think that he lost a decision. I thought he won 2 out of 3 rounds for sure. So
That's
I didn't understand that. Then there's Anthony Rosima. You know, they've been coming down working with us, and his fight was. I ran out of voice in that fight, but I try not to yell over people anymore just because I like to keep my voice. But the team is looking really good, and we have a fun group to work with. We don't have pride and ego. You know, we've learned how to work together without trying to knock each other out. So getting to go support the team, you know, I'd like to have been at weigh-ins, but you know, I'm not allowed to eat Sadie's, so I'm not going to your weigh-ins right now. But it's good to see the team fight. It's good to see us win and lose. You know, we learn something from everything.
As the team's grown, and then with the inception now of the New Mexico Wild Bunch and really the growing of that team, we've seen you both as leadership and as coaching, both of you guys stepped up. So what's that been like, and what led to that?
I am the team captain of the Wild Bunch. Just want everybody to know that, this guy. But we have a great team, man. I've never seen the gym jumping like it is. You know, the energy, the you know, no animosity there. Everyone's mingling, getting along. You know, nights have been packed. You know, when it was warm, we were having 2 boxing classes, one outside and inside. You know, so it's good to get recognition, and it's just good to be working with new faces and familiar faces. So we had Gerald Lovato and Lafayette Barella come down. Those are old school guys. You know, not too long ago from California where they're at, and from Santa Fe, but. it's just good moving forward, and it's good learning every day.
So we know obviously Tim means Brenda, you're making your way up there. We know Ray. Who's the next member of the team that people need to keep their eyes open for?
I think Charlie Williams is, he's right there.
Amber Brown's definitely there. Jerome Rivera, he came from Latrell's, I think. Kid's got great work ethic, absolutely phenomenal work ethic. He's fun to be around. Who else do we have in that? We have a list of guys. I think George. What's George's last name? George Klein's, the Marine. He
knocks everybody out.
He's right there. The thing that people forget to look at is Tom Vaughn works behind those doors. I think a lot of what's not being said about Donald Sanchez was he didn't want to be a guy that was selling tickets in the state. He didn't want to be that guy that was fighting here. Tom got him some awesome shows, really worked hard for him behind the scenes, and that's overlooked. People get in your head and say, oh, you deserve this, this, and this, and they forget about the guy that's pulling strings and working for you continuously. And I think we have just that guy in Tom Vaughn. He cares about us. He cares about us over a dollar bill. If he doesn't think the fight's good, he'll tell us, hey, I'd rather you not take the fight than him put money in his own pocket. And I think that's huge to have a guy like that leads the way, and as somebody that cares about us on a personal level. He has some things where he was going back and forth from Arizona. I wanted to train with Tom, so I found my ways to get out there and found sponsors to help me get there. I worked hard to be by my head coach. And, I think some people forget that type of stuff. A lot of guys forget that Tom wheels and deals, and you have a name because that guy put you in those positions.
Then what does it mean also that having King of the Cage is an outlet that gets your guys' team fights out there from the amateurs all the way through the pro ranks, so you guys have the ability to stay busy unlike other gyms?
Again, that comes to the guys that Tom and Arlene and JJ have really built a good credit base around the nation. They're known to bring in good fighters that are in shape. They show up. They don't pull all these excuses of weigh-ins. Oh, my fighter couldn't make it, or we're still 5 hours down the road. We won't get there. They built a good reputation, and they do work hard for us. I've lived with Tom in the hotel room or in the apartment out there in Arizona. Dude's up till 4 or 5 in the morning sending emails out and getting our fighters fights and getting fights that are in our best interest. We're not getting set up to get blown out of the water. Sometimes we have to fight guys with bigger names to stand out, but always we're going in there with Tom doing the best he can for us.
So we've talked about the home away from home, the gym, and your family. Let's talk about your actual home up there in Moriarty. We know you guys do a lot for the community. What's going on up there, and what's next?
We donated a lot of stuff for the Moriarty Junior Wrestling. We donated stuff for the community. They help out families for Thanksgiving who can't afford, to do a meal. We're just always trying to give back, we go talk around Albuquerque a lot to schools, YDI. Just, try and help out the kids. There's a lot of kids out there who need role models, and, we try and be that positive look for them.
And then Tim, we know since everything that you've went through, this changed, and that's really since you became active in the community and a positive role model. What has that meant for you?
Well, when I had a drug problem, Brenda said I still did in her last interview, messing up or something. But when I had those issues, just from not having responsibility and being bored, I didn't have an outlet to vent, and I think martial arts has done that for me and given me a straight and narrow. Some people say I found the right woman, but I think I just found the right cooking. But it's cool to talk to these kids, and I might not be gang related and all this stuff, but I do understand addiction. I understand being bored, and I can relate to them in a lot of ways. Getting in trouble is an easy thing to do when you don't have the right goals or the right life in front of you, I guess. So a lot of these kids we talk to are super smart. A lot of them are just smart individuals, and they just get bored. So we try to get them to come to the gym, not even to be fighters or whatever, just come hit a bag. It feels good when you get to hit something, and it feels a lot better when you're not dropping somebody out here in the parking lot and having to go to jail. Just come hit some pads or come do some sparring in the gym, and that's what we recommend to everybody, just come vent.
And then, as we're talking about it, we get back around to the gym. How's the teens program doing?
Awesome. We've grown. We have where our girls are actually outdoing the guys. I think we have a couple guys, and our girls are taking over. Yeah. But you know, it's cool to see a lot of the kids that come in. You know, they don't have their confidence, their self-confidence is real low, and you know, we have some that are in there 4 or 5 times a week now. So you could just see their confidence growing, and some of them are slimming up. You know, so it's real. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely, we don't get the cream of the crop. We get the kids that are struggling with getting bullied and stuff like that. So getting them in the class, getting them out of that shell, they're starting to laugh and giggle. We just took some kids to the Grapple Fest up the road, and those kids had never competed a day in their life, and we had kids that did absolutely outstanding in there. Didn't all medal, but the fact that they got out there and just absolutely went for it is just night and day from what some of our kids were when they came to us. You know, just super shy, quiet, not smiling a whole lot. We lost some kids to football, sports in school, and we recommend that. Do something. Just don't sit at home playing the Xbox, which, hey, it is fun. Xbox is awesome, unless you're losing. It makes you mad. But, you know, just do something. Do something with your time. And, you know, if you got a kid that's getting bullied or whatever, we don't need 5-star athletes. You know, we bring anyone. We want everybody that's having an issue to just come see us.
Absolutely amazing and tremendous what you guys are doing. And then last thing, got a last message about the fight coming up.
Last minute about the fight. Last time I was in Vegas, I let a fight get away from me. The only thing I said I was going to do was show up, take some respect, and fight violently. I did all those except get the W. So this time, we're going to say that backwards. I want the W, and then I want his respect. So I'm just coming to win.
Tim Means, tune in to Fight Pass to watch him fight December 10th, UFC Fight Pass against John Doomsday Howard. And again, Brenda, congratulations on the new hardware. Hopefully we'll see you up in the UFC soon. The DC Life will be right back after this. Michael Frankel, I'm just here to remind you guys always to check out CageMinds.com. Locally, globally, nationally, your source for MMA, boxing, kickboxing. We got news, interviews, and results from all the local coverage that we get and national. Tons of great stuff. Keep up with us at Facebook, Cage Minds Combat Sports News, Instagram, Cage Minds CSN, and Twitter, Cage Minds MMA. Visit CageMinds.com.
Welcome back to the DC Life Uncensored. I'm your host, Sal Moore. This is Michael Frankel. Good interview with Tim from the UFC and Brenda, the Sugar Creek Showdown 135-pound champion. Is that correct?
Yeah, down weight.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I really hope she makes it into the UFC. She's a former King of the Cage champion or current King of the Cage champion, whatever you want to call it. And then she has another regional title as well. It's time for her to make the move, whether it be going through where they work a contract where they talked about Tom Vaughn working and negotiating, willing and dealing. He can will and deal maybe something where she fights 1 or 2 times in Invicta. If she wins those 2, she moves on to the UFC. The UFC needs fresh talent in there at all weight classes. It's apparent, and it'll be a good thing to see her a breath of fresh air.
That women's division's so shallow. I think that 2 regional titles should at least give her a shot in there. They really need people in those divisions, so you got the credentials, I feel, with getting a regional title. 7-2 record.
Absolutely.
We've seen girls with worse records. It's time that she's brought in. She's in that stage of her career where this would be the right time for her, age-wise and everything, to make that push, to make that run.
Age-wise, maturity-wise, it's the right time. Timmy's gonna, speaking of how busy the schedule is, Timmy opens, he's the curtain jerker show, I should say, of the fights that are going on that weekend, where it starts on a Thursday, goes Friday, Saturday, and I believe Sunday, correct?
No, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It is the fight night where you'll have Paige and Sage, co-main event and main event. You know, the UFC with their 2 Golden Girls there pushing it at the top. And then you got the next night where we get the tough finale from this season, Conor McGregor, Conor McGregor and Uriah Faber, with Frankie Edgar, Chad Mendes as the main event. Looking forward to that fight. Topping it off, Aldo McGregor. So that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
So they do have enough shows to keep people busy.
We're going to have, 36 fights in 3 days, and I will only be present on the internet, not actually here in New Mexico.
Yeah, you know, Micah's not going to shower for 3 days, he said, and 3 days is more than
Nobody enough time to shower and eat.
Oh,
Come on,
okay.
but like the 8 hours that the fights are on for, I'm probably zombie stuck, focused on what's going on.
Well, let's do the CageMinds.com breakdown of this past weekend, because there were local fights happening here. King of the Cage came back to New Mexico. For you new fans that fell in love with MMA with the Holly Holm fight, go check out the local scene. There was some awesome fights from what I've heard feedback-wise from you. Go ahead and break those down, as well as local fighters fighting in California and elsewhere.
Well, we had Friday night, like Sal said, King of the Cage, Sheridan Uptown, Evolution, about 500 people. Plus, I think we went over capacity, honestly, because you saw people standing in the doorways, trying to get in, standing at the back rows. So 500 plus people joined us out there. And again, I'll thank myself, I guess. I can't thank any of the other media for showing up there, you know. Little shout out to Southwest Fight News, saw you guys tweeting. But other than that, you know, I'm disappointed in the Journal and all these other entities that, you know, we cover combat sports, ABQ Sport, the Duke City Magazine, all these major TV channels. You guys love Holly Holmes. Can we get some love for King of the Cage for the future?
For the local fighters that are coming up, it's ridiculous. I mean, you don't see these guys at any of the other shows. You don't see them covering anything. And when they do cover stuff, they're taking pictures off of other websites, or taking Sal Gomez's of Gomez Photo Works. They're taking his photos and cropping them, putting their logos all over them. It's ridiculous. You guys need to put in the work as well. And I'm not excluding any one of you guys that are out there claiming to be local media or national media in that sense also. They gotta learn the hustle.
So, two more things to add on to that. One thing, got a shout out to womensworldmma.com. Thank you for not taking our logos off the photos that you guys reposted like some people do from King of the Cage. And then also for New Mexico, let's show some love to Carlos Condit. That fight's coming up, and there's a whole lot of Holly Holmes hype. We need to keep that going. I digress. Let's go back to Friday night. King of the Cage, Sherwin Price, a great submission win, kicked us off in the night in the amateur rankings. You had Pedro Hernandez and Jonah Archuleta go at it in a war. Hernandez, he was really able to get on top, use his ground and pound. That found him the victory in the decision. Bradley McDowell found himself in a bad position, mounted by Jeff Green, who pounded him out. Judgment MMA, that was their first win. They had 3 on the night. We know it's a big night for them. Elias Gordo and Sean Montoya had a hard-fought fight for 3 rounds. Montoya stuck in a triangle choke for much of the 3rd round, but did have position. Controversially, the split decision went to Gordo. I myself had 29-28 for Montoya, but you can't really be too mad at an amateur fight. This doesn't carry on. It's all a learning experience. One lose or draw. Hard-fought fight from both guys. Rudy Aguilar got a Kimura lock of Casey Yates and got a submission. Interestingly enough, Casey came up and showed us after the fight. He did not tap from the Kimura, essentially. He checked a kick with his hand, and his knuckles on his right hand were pressed pretty far back into his hand, and eventually the submission got to his hand, and it started to bend, and he felt that his broken hand, the bones moving around, and tapped out to that. Ever tough performance, though, for the survival in the Kimura for more than a minute. We had Nika Dmitrieva and Alma Flores. You cannot judge a book by her cover. You look at Dmitrieva, if you could find the weigh-in photo of her, she looks like kind of like one of those Eastern European science projects of a woman. And at first thought, you look at Flores, and Flores looked like a soccer mom with a vicious Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game, we found out, and got the win versus rear naked choke. For Dudikaeva, hopefully she gets well soon. She ended up with a shoulder injury somewhere in the grappling too, but you can't judge a book by a cover, and it was an intriguing fight. Getting the fight to the ground, showing positioning, and the promise of what technique can do for you. Jacob Benfold, in his amateur debut, took on a well-experienced Roberto Nader. They chested each other's chins, a bunch of big shots, went to the ground, and about the 3rd time the armbar was in, Jacob got it. So for him, for his first fight, taking on a guy with 5 AMI fights, it was a huge win, and I know the team out there, Judgment again, was stoked about that and the impressiveness that he pulled off. And then that led us up to the main event feature of the amateur card. Jesse Tafoya submitting everybody. We had him on here before, our guest. He showed off what he needed to in the striking game. A straight right hand, got Jarrell Spangenberg with a knockdown, took the fight to the ground, and eventually ended it with an armbar. He had an armbar triangle combo the first time he had the submission, and according to him, Spangenberg's elbow was popping and the sounds were getting pretty nasty, so Spangenberg showed a lot of heart, showed a lot of grit. Tafoya actually looked his worst on the ground that we've seen him, but still came away with the submission win. Hopefully he does jump to the pro ranks.
Now, speaking of the pro ranks, he mentioned to us that his coaches, his head coaches of his gym, wanted to see him more in the stand-up, wanted to see him get a finish in the fight without using submission. Did he do enough, in your opinions, in the stand-up?
He came out kicking, bobbing, weaving, and that straight punch that scored the knockdown, ever so close. His corner told me after the fight, we thought that was going to be the knockout we were looking for. And Nick Gonzales, great coach up there, he said he's going to talk to the head trainers, Jackson Wing, and his assessment would be, yeah, he should be ready to take that next step, but we'll never see.
What's his record?
Jesse's?
Yeah.
That'd be 8-2 now as an amateur.
8-2,
I'd say it's time.
That's 10 fights as an amateur. I think it's going to be hard-pressed to find any more amateur fights because most of the guys in amateur mixed martial arts seem to go
5 fights, maybe?
Between 3 and 5 fights total, and then they move on to being what they call pros, even though most of them are not pro. But they get paid, so they're professionals. Go ahead
and like we said, talk about the problems fighting fights. This fight was actually up a bantamweight, and Jesse is a flyweight. He's a natural 125er, moved up 10 pounds to find this fight because nobody else wanted to take it at that weight class. We get to the pro bouts, and it started off with Derek Perez and Evan DeLong, and of course they went nuts right out the gate. Going forward, fist of fury, DeLong shot for a takedown, deep choke, and it took a while, a good half of the first round, it seemed like, before DeLong popped his head out, got back up, pressured Perez. Perez was able to stuck the takedown. In the grappling exchange, though, he found himself into a choke, and it looked like a standing guillotine. They called it a neck crank live. Tap out. Evan DeLong gets the win. It was 1 minute of fury. The fight ended 1 minute, 39 seconds to the first round. So we had 3 minutes of nonstop craziness action like I expected. Next fight up there on the pro card, Anthony Rosema and Cesar Zaparipa, and they decided to not give a shit. They punched each other in the face a lot. Defense be damned, go out the window. I talked to Scott Marlowe, Anthony Rosema's coach, afterwards, and he said he was doing a little prayer in the corner for some defense, for some head movement, because they were just firing back and forth. Cesar took a lot of big shots, bleeding everywhere. They fought in the clinch, back and forth. You would have thought, looking at them, the flabby physique of Cesar would have done him in, but he still kept the cardio, still kept pushing on it, still kept throwing back every time Rosema seemed to be wailing on him. He'd just throw right back. Tons of uppercuts in the clinch. They went a la Don Fry from Pride, and eventually it was Cesar who fell down, and Anthony Rosema 2-0. Again, another knockout win, but not untested. It was a war.
Where does Anthony Rosema go from here?
Back down to welterweight and to work on his head movement a little bit, to work on actually not his head movement, to work on not getting into the brawl, to not letting that male facade come out, and just working on, being a little bit smarter, not getting caught up in the moment. Keeps fighting for King of the Cage probably. He's only 2-0. Become defensive, a little more working up, and I think, again, like I said, he doesn't look bad as a middleweight, but he really should be a welterweight. We've seen him there before. And then that led us up to the main event. Nico Montano making her pro debut after a 5-0 amateur run versus Stacy Segala. Segala had been submitted in her last 2 fights. Montoya had all 5 of her wins, first round stoppages, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions. So you're pretty sure you're getting the math here. Segala should get submitted in this fight. Well, Montano came out, worked on her striking. That's what she wanted to showcase. Threw a bunch of kicks, a high kick, a side kick. Got into the clinch mode, and then they went grappling. Eventually, Montano was able to take the back, pounded out with strikes, couldn't find the choke, but did get the ground and pound TKO. She accomplished the big goal of hers in the fight, which was getting this one out of the way. Showing off a bit more of her striking, and a personal goal of hers was to keep getting different takedowns in every fight. So that's 6 fights, 6 different takedowns she's been able to achieve. She was really proud of that.
Congratulations to Nico Montano. And if you guys want to see the write-up from the event, I know he broke it down verbally, but if you want to see the write-up as well as the pictures, go to cageminds.com. click on King of the Cage Evolution results. You can get all the info there. And let's continue.
And one more thing, as we're talking about that, Nico Montano, keep that name in mind. We need women. We need them at the bantamweight division up there in the high ranks, and she's 6-0 altogether. I know she's just starting out this pro run, but one day we'll see her up there. I really do believe. We'll talk about more of the local stuff. These were Saturday, but Saturday, 2 big wins for New Mexico. Cody East, now 11-1, got the first round TKO of Dave Huckabee, a tough veteran that we've seen in Bellator, in WSOF. Cody East already has 2 regional titles with Legacy and King of the Cage. It is time that we see him in the UFC. It is time that if he's not, that Bellator scoops him up, or WSOF before the UFC.
Talking to his coaches and cornermen inside the fight shop in New Mexico, we were chatting, and they mentioned that when Dana White and the Fertittas came down to New Mexico, they actually had a one-on-one, a little bit of one-on-one time with the Fertittas and White. And by all accounts, if he finished this fight, that they would be ringing his bell.
So next stop, Octagon, we wait to see.
Let's hope so. I mean, it's time. 11-1. You're heavyweight, just like the women are scarce. Good, solid heavyweights are scarce as well. It's time for him to make the move. Whether it is UFC, obviously #1. Bellator should be right behind him, knocking on the door. Scott Coker and company definitely should be trying to outbid the UFC for his services. Their heavyweight division is garbage, and he'd make for an entertaining champion of Bellator.
And then also, this was in another part of California, Cody East fought for Global Knockouts. Now, for Conquer Fighting Championships, their first event, and they're a huge affiliate with the American Kickboxing Academy, Latrell's MMA's. Latrell Yee MMA, sorry if I got that wrong first time. Steven Cervantes representing them, went out, main event, Sean Bunch took home a split decision win. I was following a guy on Twitter that these two absolutely lit each other up, both had granite chins, that they both got takedowns, couldn't hold each other down, and that Scrappy Doo did land a big head kick even during the fight, taking the split decision win, and because we're counting, that's 6-0 now at bantamweight. I put it out there, I tweeted it 6-0, that he defeated him, to the UFC and the Bellator, that they need to take notice on this. Another young prospect at bantamweight. We love these lighter weight classes, so action-packed, and we got a huge depth of talent down here, hoping to see him move up to a bigger show with this win, because he did get it over a big show Bellator vet.
6-0, 135. I think he's going to have to probably get down a little bit to 125 just based on height and strength-wise if he hits the UFC. If he hits Bellator 135.
How tall is Steven?
It's not that tall. He's about your height.
It's about 5'6".
Yeah, so I mean, compared to some of the guys and stuff like that are shifting down and whatnot, I think they're going to be a little bit too strong. Or he needs to focus in on strength and conditioning training possibly. If he hits the UFC, if he hits Bellator, I think he has some wiggle room, and I think he can do good at 135 as well. I may be wrong all the way around. That's just my opinion, and looking from the outside in. I mean, look, Diego Sanchez was a middleweight going all the way down to 145 to fight his last fight. That's where he came in at, is 185.
Right. Isn't it funny looking back at Kenny Florian and Diego Sanchez and being like,
they're both,
you remember when middleweights were in my day?
Yeah.
They had a little bit of punch to them.
Yeah, you know, so it's just a little different, little bit of different timing and whatnot, and that's what happens. Speaking of Diego Sanchez, let's.
We had UFC Fight Night 78 in Monterrey. Diego Sanchez was in the co-main event, and we'll break down a little bit more of the card. There was a theme of the card, a theme of something that I haven't seen since Benson Henderson, calf kicks. Calf kicks are paying dividends. Alejandro Perez really demobilized Scott Jorgensen in getting Jorgensen, who off of a high kick, it looked like tore his calf muscle, to tap out on the ground. That was an impressive fight. You had El Goyito, Eric Perez, who used to fight out here, taking a unanimous decision from Taylor Lapalus.
And I smiled because the tail of the tape.
Alejandro Perez picture was there instead of Goyito's. Great move by the UFC.
I even put it up on my social media. I said, boy, Goyo has changed so much since he left Albuquerque.
Stunning, the facial changes.
Yeah,
right?
the facial changes, the tattoos, and then taking them off before he fought. I mean, wow, it was amazing to see.
Gotta love
Goyo looked good.
He looked good.
He looked happy. He looked relieved. And finally, because
after a year getting the win,
he had the injury and whatnot, and he was coming back. And
knowing him and coming off the loss down here, changing up the camps, and him fighting then at home in Monterrey, I know losing here hurt him a lot. I knew there was no way that he would not be conscious if he lost that fight. He was not going to let it go down that way at home in front of all of his friends and family. So it's great to see him pick up that decision win. Also, I forgot to mention, before that one, we had the big knockout. A guy that used to train down here that we got to see, Gabriel Benitez, right? Yeah. Got eaten up by a head kick and a combination from Andre Touchy-Feely. Love that nickname. But yeah, Feely showed his length, showed off more wisdom. Benitez ate some shins and went to sleep after the leather. We also had on there Leandro Silva take a split decision from Efren Escudero. And it's really funny when you listen to UFC commentary because, you know, he's coming off of being the coach from Tough Latino. This was his fight to win in Mexico. They were building him up. Check out his maturity. Check out the way he's advanced. This is his third one in the UFC. His maturity. Everything's coming together. And he really didn't put the pedal to the metal and got eaten up by Silva's counter-striking.
Yeah. It happens sometimes.
It happens. Move on from there. We had a couple more champions claimed from Tough. Some grinding out fights. Eric Montano, the brother of Dodger Montano. He's in the UFC now, got a welterweight Tough Latino championship, and so did Enrique Brizola. He grounded out his opponent. And then we got up to the three interesting fights of the night. I think Henry Cejudo possibly earned himself a title shot. He got a decision win over Jussier Formiga. And as they said in the telecast, him and Formiga are the two highest ranked fighters that haven't got beat down yet by DJ. So I'm guessing he earned himself a title shot. 4-fight win streak, lackluster performance.
He's one of those guys that he's doing what Ronda Rousey made the mistake of doing. He's falling in love with those hands. And
the guy's never wrestled in MMA.
He thinks he's a boxer, and he's.
Well, didn't you know? Yeah, bronze gloves from Arizona. He's a boxer.
Yeah, I know. And Ronda thought she was a boxer also. Hey guys, this is Sal Mora, the Fight Shop New Mexico. Come check us out, 6200 Coors Boulevard Northwest, on Coors and Montano in Albuquerque, New Mexico.